Welcome back to Overtime here on WOTM. Mark, let's stick in baseball because the baseball season is very, very young right now. The Braves have only played 12 games going into tonight. Most of Major League Baseball has played less than 20. And we're at a point now where the replay has come up and multiple times this year, Braves being one of those teams. And one of the things you wanted to do is look back historically and kind of see where, before replay was implemented, the cry for baseball to implement replay, and it seems like we're still kind of getting stuck in the mud in some cases.
Yeah, right here. This is the first play I really remember. Jordan 1985 World Series was ruled safe when he was out. That led to the Royals. It was a crazy ninth inning. You had Jack Clark misplaying a fly ball, a pop-up. You had Darryl Porter allowing a wild pitch that allowed the runners to move up. A lot of bad things happened after that play that led to the complete change of the series. This was Game 6. The Cardinals were up 1-0 in the ninth inning. 3 outs from a World Series. Then all of a sudden, things changed. This is Dan Orge getting a game-winning hit here to drive in. Watch Jim Sundberg with this slide, one of the great slides in Major League Baseball history, to score the winning run. Royals go on to win Game 7, 11-0, and win the 1985 World Series. Don Denkinger was the first base umpire. And in order to understand where we are with replay, I just wanted to give kind of a perspective of overall why it's such an issue. This here is in 2011 between the Braves and the Pirates. Jerry Meals blowing a call at home plate. It was clearly out. 19th inning, maybe it's time to go home, I don't know.
Right.
But the Pirates were enraged about this. They had not made the playoffs since 1992, and in 2011, they were on the verge of, they were around 500 around this time, and then they just went, I think, 19-43 for the rest of the year and kind of fell off the truck, so to speak. So, again, you have why, if we're going to institute Major League Baseball replay, at this time, you did have a rule about home run balls, and there was a play in 1996 that happened for that. Now, this was probably one of the most egregious ones. At this time, we still only have the home run rule. This was ruled actually an infield fly rule. I remember watching this game and being like, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
And I don't care either way. Braves, Cardinals, I don't care either way. But I felt so bad for the Braves because that ball is halfway out in left field. And still at that moment, you can't do anything. You can't challenge it because they didn't allow the extension of it to where you could call out plays like that. It was just home run calls. So then you have the change in 2014 where now you're allowed to extend it a little bit to other things, to plays at first, to plays at home, tag plays. The one thing we don't have yet is balls and strikes. But as we're going to see coming up here, before that ruling was made in 2014, you have a couple other instances where it would have been good to have replay. Here with Armando Galarraga, he was ruled safe. That would have given him a perfect game. Jim Joyce missed that call, broken-hearted.
Yeah.
The next day, Joyce cried over this,
That's
the umpire, because he knew he missed it once he saw the replay. But if they had replay then, if they had that extension then, in 2010, he would have had his perfect game. Not just no-hitter, but a perfect game. Then you're going to see the other team that did not have a no-hitter starting in 2012. Were the New York Mets. And I'll never forget this, June 1st, 2012, a guy that was kind of at the end of his rope, Johan Santana, where the Mets had gotten to make, kind of get them over the top from 2007 to 2008. He had some injury problems, and he was struggling a little bit. And here's Carlos Beltran, ex-Met, line drive down the third base line, ruled foul. Now, by the replay, it's hard to tell, but it did go over the bag, and it hit the chalk after the third base line, so it should have been a fair ball that would have ended, watch this here, hits the white, should have been a fair ball that would have ended the no-hitter, and the Mets still would be without a no-hitter.
Right.
Umpire calls this foul. Santana winds up throwing like 130 pitches, gets his no-hitter, and that was the last really big start of his career as he went downhill from that. Some people said that ruined the rest of his career. Here, I think because of the call on the field, there isn't enough yet to overturn this. If he would have been called out, they would have kept it that way.
Exactly.
Because there's not anything to overrule that. There's no clear evidence that overrules that, so you got to go with the call on the field. Same thing last night with the Mets game. You see, and this led to the Mets scoring a couple of runs. With McNeil, it was called safe. If he was called out, they would have kept that the same, because on the replay it was really hard to tell if he was safe or not. So you got to go with the call on the field. It's human error. I don't mind that, but that's how we got to where we are now. I like where the replay rule is now, but you got to get it right. You can't miss a call like the Braves the other night when every other camera angle is showing that he missed it. I don't know if you can really say, well, because we can't tell and the guy ruled him safe, we'll just go with that. To me, I didn't really see anything that could lead to where he touched the plate. Even if it's just minuscule, there wasn't enough there. At the Met game, there was enough because it did look like a tie. So you could have said, okay, either way. I think the Braves have more of an argument there. I could understand why the umpires didn't overrule it, but I think that still, it's something that you want to, as a baseball fan, and you want to get it right. Because when you get it wrong, you feel like, holy cow, we just watched this whole thing. We need to, this is an important game for us. And now, why do they have this rule at all? If they can't get to, there's got to be a camera angle that shows it. You can see just about everything now. Nothing is hidden in Major League Baseball or any other sport. So I think as a fan, you have the right to expect that if they're going to institute replay and they're going to make it to where it's going to be allowed at different parts of the game, that you need to get it right, no matter how long it takes. And I think that a lot of fans, especially when it decides a game, if it's in the second inning and stuff like that, you can get over. But when it decides a game like it did the other night and like it did here, you have a lot to be angry about.
Exactly, and I think that baseball at some point will have to do kind of like a gut check as it relates to replay. And I know one of the things that's a little bit frustrating for all sports, and it's not just baseball, but when you go to replay and this thing can't be reviewed, this thing can be reviewed. We've talked about that here on the high school level, and of course it's very experimental on the high school level. They've now had replay now a few years, but you get a good working knowledge about, hey, X can be reviewed, this can't be reviewed, and then we're at a point, and we've been this way for a long time. A person sitting on the couch drinking a beer should not be able to see, hey, that's wrong. And the people that are judging and calling it
can't get it right.
Not getting it right. And I don't think it's fair to anybody that's participating, players, coaches, fans, anybody involved. So, of course, we'll see what Major League Baseball does with the replay, but I really appreciate your look historically on this.
Well, I think one thing, too, is why the home run rule got put into effect is because in 1996 with the Yankees and the Royals, there was a ball that Derek Jeter hit off of Armando Benitez that a young kid called Jeffrey Maris stuck his mitt out and caught the ball in play, and you're not allowed to do that. And the right field umpire, Richie Garcia, called it a home run. He was right there. He was staring at it, and he still missed the call. So you could have human error where you just blatantly miss a call, but I think a lot of fans can forgive that. What they can't forgive is seeing a million different angles and still getting it wrong.
Exactly. So we'll see if this gets cleaned up. But here in the early part of the season so far, not so good as it relates to replay. Well, coming up next here on Overtime, it is a big weekend of series for Alabama and Auburn. They meet on the Diamond. We'll talk Braves. Also, we'll talk baseball outside of the Braves. Some now former Braves now with the organizations in college. College baseball is next here on our program.
That was all right.
Yeah, that was good.